Hey everyone, welcome back to the login field animation demo. In this tutorial, we're basically figuring out how we can animate and create this really nice effect by animating this label up and to the left. And in this installment, what we're going to do is we're going to continue the journey where we left off as we've done the animation up and to the left. What we want to do now is get the text field, this one here, along with this cancel button to appear, so that when someone taps this, we can start entering text, and of course we can cancel it also. So that's what we're going to do in this section. So let's start by adding that text field to our view. So let's go back into our form field view. Let's go up to the top and let's add another control. Let's call this text field. And this is going to be a UI text field. Something else that's subtle that I do when I'm laying out my views here is I also try to have the elements in the view match the layout in the view that I'm actually building. This helps us keep things organized in my mind. So if I'm starting at the top with a label and then working down to a text field and then a cancel button, I'm also going to make that order reflected in my view. This may seem like a small nitpicky thing, but anything you can do to help unburden the cognitive load that you or someone else has coming in when working with this code, it really kind of helps doing these little things in here. So that's why there is kind of a subconscious ordering going on in here. And that's why you'll also see me sometimes mark things up, even with little comments like here, label, so I can quickly scan the code and see if I ever need to do any label layout, I can just catch that at a glance. So those are some subtle things I'm also doing that I maybe haven't fully explained. But now that we've got text field here, let's go and style it and do everything we need to do with text fields. So in this case, what we're going to do is what we always do. I'll start by just styling our text field here. So I'm going to add a little divider here just so I can see I'm working with text field. And the first thing we always need to do is make sure we turn off that auto translate mask. If we don't do that, nothing will work. So we're just following the convention here and getting this text field set up for auto layout. Then the next thing we're going to want to do is notice how the text field, it has a particular tint to it. To make this carrot green, we need to change the tint of the text field. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to change the tint color of the text field, and we're going to make it the same color green we've been using before, system green. And then that's good for now. When we're actually running it, I mean, initially this text field will be hidden, but for now we want to put it on the screen. So I'm not going to hide it for now. We're just going to leave it like that. Okay, now let's come down and take a look at the auto layout. I'm just going to get rid of this menu on the left, which I can either do by tapping this, or I can go Command 0 to make that disappear. Let's come in here and just think about how we want to lay out this text field. So if we look at this, we want it aligned with the email, and we know we've got some padding of 16 or a multiplier of 2 on the left-hand side here. So we know we're going to want that. And we know we're probably going to want it to come to the edge here also. So we can make it go fully across. We'll probably put 16 over here. And then let's also just pin it to the bottom. When it comes to auto layout, there's just two things you need to remember. Whatever you're laying out needs a size and a position. So we're going to specify the width of this by pinning it leading and trailing here. That's going to give it the width. But we're also going to pin it to the bottom, and that is going to fully define its position and size. So by laying that out leading, trailing, and bottom, we will fully define how this text field should appear and be laid out in our view here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with the leading. So we're going to go text field dot leading anchor, and we're going to make that a constraint equal to the view's leading anchor because we're the view. And I want to use that system multiplier. So let me back up and use that nice equal the system spacing after multiplier. So I want my text field leading anchor to be equal to the system spacing after the view's leading anchor with a multiplier of 2. That 2, of course, translates into 16 points. That's what's going to give us our padding on the left. Now let's do the same thing on the right. Of course, with the right, remember we need to flip it because we want our view to come after the text field. So here we're going to go trailing anchor. We're going to make this constraint equal the spacing after our text field, trailing. And that will also have a multiplier of 2. Whoops. There. So that'll give us our width, but it's still ambiguous in terms of the Y position. Where on the Y is this thing going to appear? Well, we're going to pin it to the bottom. So that's what's going to fully define its position. So we're going to go bottom anchor. We're going to make that constraint equal to the system spacing below our text field bottom anchor. And let's also give it, I think a spacing of 2 should be good. Let's try that. So that should fully define our position. We've got our width. This intrinsically has a height, so we should be okay there. And that should put our anchor in there, or will it? Because what's the one thing that we always need to do when we have a new control? We also need to add it to the subview. And I almost always forget this. If you do, you'll just get a runtime error. It'll complain and say, hey, constraints can't be applied to this thing because it's not in the hierarchy. But I'm just going to skip that for you. You'll discover that on your own if you don't. And there, now we're added to the subview. Let's run this and see what happens. Email, tap, okay. Kind of good. It's not doing our animation anymore, but we can see we've got a green caret there, so that's good. That's added. Let's see if we can figure out why this isn't animating anymore. Okay, well, just to make sure I'm not going crazy, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the text field from the subview, run the app again, and verify our animation is working and that I'm not seeing things. Okay, so here's our app. If I tap email, okay, so the animation is indeed working. There's just something funny going on when I bring in the text field and add it to the view. And this is one of the things, I mean, I'm just kind of learning UI animation. There's lots of things I still don't fully understand about it. Like, I don't know why right now it's not exactly animating that. If I had to guess, I think it's because the run loop is running, something's getting reset, and it's either just ignoring or canceling it out because of how AutoLayout is sizing things out. This is where we need to experiment and just try to figure out how to get around things like this. So because I know that initially we want this text field to be hidden, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to where we styled it initially. And let's go ahead and just make this text field hidden. I mean, this is what we want when we start up the app anyways. We want to hide it. So when we start it up, I know it's there. I know we've laid it out. I'm just going to hide it now. Okay, and we do indeed get back our animation. Okay, I guess that's good. So I'm just going to continue to ignore why it wasn't animating up when we added the text field back. I'm just going to soldier on and just hook up the text field and see if that somehow gets around our problem. So let's go and let's set ourselves up so we can actually be the delegate for that text field. And what I like to do when it comes to setting up these kinds of things is I add one more function here along the same lines of style and layout. And it's in here where I will do things like protocol delegate setup. So in this case, we want to set ourselves up to be the delegate or the receiver of the messages for our text field here. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that up, register ourselves to receive these messages. And now we just need to go in there and implement the methods so the text field can communicate back. So let's go down to the bottom here, and I'm just going to add in the text field delegate methods. These are the functions the text field will call to communicate back to us. It'll ask us, should I end my session of capturing data? Hey, I'm about to end. Should I end? We can respond to true or false if we wanted to do some kind of validation in here. And in this case, when someone does hit enter and they are finished entering text into the text field, this is the function that's going to get called. And this is the one where we can do things like email validation in. So that's going to hook that up there. But that's still not going to work because something else we need to do is when we tap our view, that label animates up and we want to display our text field, we also need to make it the first responder. First responder means give me focus. I'm the element in the view that wants to have full control over what's going on. I'm active. So the way we do that is we request first responder for our text field. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to our enter email animation here, the one where we're animating the label and everything. And now we're actually going to make use of this completion block. Once that animation completes, that's when we're going to unhide our text field, make ourselves become the first responder. And at that point, we should be active and we should be good to go. And our text field should have full visibility and access over to what's going on. So if we come over to our app and we hit email, now we can see the text field appears. It did animate up and we are free to enter text. So that's great news. We've got our text field in there animating and it's working. If we hit undo now, we can see that we're not quite undoing everything. When we hit undo, we need to do some cleanup in there. So let's go and see if we can go back to hiding our text field and doing some cleanup when we hit undo. And also, I inadvertently added some visibility code here and enter email. This shouldn't be here, so just take note of that. Apologies. Does that look good? Let me just double check. Yes, that looks good. Let's go down to our undo here, and it's in here where we'll start doing some visibility work. Let's just add a tag here called visibility. And in here, we are going to hide our text field because we're undoing, and we're also going to clear out the text. So if we run this now, we animate up and we animate down. Hey, not bad, not bad. So we're animating up, we're hiding that text field when we come back. That's really good. We've got the text field now hooked up. Next up for us is to figure out what to do and how to add this cancel button. So if we take a look at this cancel button, you can't tell immediately, but what this is this is actually an SF symbol. So what are FF symbols? Symbols. These are things that Apple's created, icons, all sorts of things that make it really easy for us to make use of these things in our app. So I'm no artist. I don't want to recreate this art all the time. So we can come in here and we can use all these different symbols to do different things. So you can search for them. You can find them. The one we're going to use is this one here called Clear Fill. And we can use these on our buttons when styling them. So what I'm going to do in this case is we're going to add an SF symbol button here. And I just happen to have some code which conveniently enables me to do that. This is a function I've just used many, many times. I keep this on my personal repo and bring it out whenever I need it. Make symbol button. This basically takes in the name of the SF symbol. In this case, it was going to be that clear.fill. And it lets me set up a target action on a button. And this just conveniently encapsulates all these things in here. So I can easily create a button, add a target to it, set its image, set its content mode, and then use it in my app. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a cancel button at the top of our form view here. We're just going to continue going down the app. So it's label, text field, cancel button. That's going to call that function make symbol button. Here we're passing in the symbol. And of course, we need to create a function called cancel tapped. So that's the thing that's going to get called when someone taps that button. So I'm going to come down to our section where we've got actions already defined. And again, this is why I like these little marks here. I can quickly scan and see, okay, that's animations. Here's actions. This is another action I'm adding to a button. And this is going to follow the same format because this is a UI button that's responding. It needs to be Objective-C, cancel tapped. I don't really need the button, but I can pass it in if I want. And then here's the magic right here. Here's where our text field resigns first responder. This is where we're giving up control of the text field and we're saying, hey, I don't need this thing anymore. And then we're just going to call that undo method. So that's how the cancel button is going to work. Now we just need to style and lay it out. So if we go back to our style section up here, we're just going to follow the same pattern we've always done, working from top to bottom. We've got our label, our text field. Now we'll style our button. Here's our cancel button. We'll set it up for auto layout. We'll set its foreground to be a specific color. What you see there is a constant I've defined, which is in the final solution. But for now, I'm just going to hard code the colors in so you can kind of see what these things look like. We're going to make it system gray. We're also going to hide that button initially because when we start up the app, we can't see it. And after we tap, that's when we'll make it visible. But before we do that, of course, we need to set up some auto layout and get it on the screen. So let's come down to our layout section and let's specify where we want this button. Apologies if I'm going just a little bit faster now, but I think you're getting the gist of this. We're just going to put our cancel button right in the middle here. So that's what the center Y is. We're also going to put some spacing after. We're going to pin it to this right edge. So we're going trailing anchor equal the spacing after the cancel button with a multiplier of 2. That'll give it that spacing of 16 there. And then that's laid out. Now we just need to set the visibility. So heading back down to our email animation, when someone taps this, our view for the first time, we want that cancel button to appear. So we'll put that in the completion block here, right like we did with the text field. We're also going to say, hey, you become unhidden now. You can be visible. And likewise, when we undo you, we want you to be hidden again. So we're going to go ahead and hide you. When we do the undo, we're going to set you back equal to true to put you back to being hidden. And of course, none of this is going to work if we don't add it to our sub view. I always forget this. Let's go back to our add view. Let's add the cancel button there to get it in our view hierarchy. And let's fire it up and see what happens. Let's see if we get this cancel button there. All right, so we're going to tap. Hey, there we go. We're typing, and now if we hit cancel, awesome, we clear out. Okay, hey, this is starting to come together. Not too bad. Okay, so in this section, we saw how to add a text field, how to add a cancel button, how to make that work in conjunction with our animation. The last step in this demo is to come over here, let someone type an email address, and then do some validation to basically signal that that's not a valid email address. So if you're interested in seeing that, come back for the next episode and we'll show you how that's done.